He was mocked just for touching a rich boy's piano, laughed at, humiliated in front of the whole class. But when he finally sat down to play, the entire room fell silent. And by the time he finished, there wasn't a dry eye left in sight. Before starting this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that inspires. Thanks for watching, and remember, talent can come from anywhere. The music room was filled with chatter, laughter, and the soft hum of a grand piano. It was a bright afternoon at Crestwood Academy, an elite private school known for its wealthy students, pristine uniforms, and a music hall that looked like it belonged in a palace. 12-year-old Jamal had only been at the school for a week. A scholarship student from the other side of town, Jamal walked the halls like a ghost, barely noticed, mostly avoided. Until that day, Jamal's eyes lit up as he entered the music room and saw the shiny black Steinway grand piano. He had only seen one like that in books or on the internet. His fingers itched to touch the keys. Drawn like a magnet, he stepped closer. Carefully, reverently, he placed his hands on the piano lid, gently lifting it. "What do you think you're doing?" A sharp voice cut through the air. It was Bradley, the rich boy who claimed the piano as his own. The son of a tech billionaire, Bradley was used to having everything, including the spotlight. And he didn't like anyone touching his piano. "You don't belong here," he sneered. "Your kind doesn't even know how to read music." The room burst into cruel laughter from a group of Bradley's friends. Jamal froze, his fingers inches from the keys, his heart pounding. The music teacher, Mrs. Delaney, had just stepped out of the room for a quick phone call. With no adult around, Bradley took the chance to make a scene. Maybe he thought it was a toy, one of the boys mocked. "Careful," another smirked. "He might break it with his dirty hands." Jamal clenched his jaw, but said nothing. He'd heard these things before, words that burned but left no bruises. He slowly backed away from the piano, eyes downcast, trying to hold in the storm building in his chest. But then something shifted. A girl named Emily, one of the few kind souls in that school, stepped forward. "Leave him alone," she said. "He wasn't hurting anything." Bradley rolled his eyes. He doesn't even know what a C note is. Emily looked at Jamal. "Do you play?" Jamal hesitated, then nodded. "A little." Bradley scoffed. "Yeah, right." Emily smiled gently. "Prove it." The room fell silent. The laughter faded. All eyes turned to Jamal. He looked at the piano again. That beautiful instrument. He had dreamed of playing on a real one like this for years. Back home, he had practiced on a broken keyboard his mom found at a thrift store. Half the keys didn't even work. His mother always said, "When you play, play like the world's listening." With trembling fingers, Jamal stepped up to the piano. His heart beat like a drum. Slowly, he sat down on the velvet bench. Bradley snickered, whispering, "Watch him embarrass himself." But Jamal didn't hear that. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let his fingers move. What came next silenced the room. The melody that poured out of the piano was soft at first, gentle like rain tapping on a window. Then it swelled, rising into a rich, emotional harmony that filled the space like magic. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. It was honest. It was the kind of music that told a story of struggle, hope, pain, and strength. His fingers danced across the keys, drawing from a place deep within. Even Mrs. Delaney, returning to the room, stopped in the doorway, stunned. Tears welled in her eyes as she listened. No one dared speak. No one laughed. Not even Bradley. Jamal played like he had been doing this for decades. But it was more than skill. It was soul. When he finished, he sat in silence, breathing hard, not daring to look up. Then applause. It started with Emily, then a few other students, then the whole room. Everyone clapped. Some even stood up. Bradley stared, speechless. His smug grin had vanished. His face was red with a mixture of confusion and something else, embarrassment. Jamal looked up, stunned by the response. He wasn't used to applause. He wasn't used to being seen. Mrs. Delaney walked over and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. "Where did you learn to play like that?" she asked. Jamal shrugged. "At home. My mom taught me a little. The rest, I just learned by listening." She blinked back tears. "That was one of the most beautiful performances I've ever heard." Someone in the back whispered, "He's better than Bradley." For the first time, Jamal smiled. Bradley didn't say much after that. He stayed quiet, arms crossed, lips tight. The power he held in that room, the spotlight, was gone, and Jamal had taken it without even trying. The next day, something even more surprising happened. Mrs. Delaney called Jamal up during morning assembly, in front of the whole school. "I want to recognize someone who reminded us that talent doesn't come from money. It comes from passion and perseverance," she said. She handed Jamal a small certificate. "You'll be representing our school at the upcoming Youth Music Showcase." Gasps echoed around the auditorium. That showcase was usually reserved for rich kids, the best trained, the most polished. Jamal had never even dreamed of it. Bradley looked away, humiliated. Later that day, as Jamal walked through the hallway, a few kids who had laughed at him earlier now stopped to say hi, to congratulate him. Even Bradley eventually came up and mumbled, "You're good." Jamal nodded. "Thanks." He didn't need Bradley's approval. The music had already spoken. Weeks passed, and the day of the showcase arrived. Jamal walked onto the stage of a grand concert hall, lights shining down, a crowd of strangers watching. He sat at another grand piano, took a deep breath, and remembered his mom's words again. "Play like the world's listening." And he did. The room melted away. The noise disappeared. Only the keys, the music, and his heart remained. By the end of his performance, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Even the judges wiped tears from their cheeks. Jamal received a standing ovation. Not because he was the richest, not because he was the loudest, but because he was real. He didn't just play music. He told a story, his story. And from that day on, no one ever doubted what a boy with a dream, a gift, and the courage to share could do, even if he started from nothing.